What do Loretta from Only Murders in the Building and Phoebe from Friends have in common? Although Only Murders portrays Loretta as a bit scattered and timid, and Friends portrays Phoebe as a bit random and unpredictable, both women's apartments actually show their deeper sense of self and what they like despite what other people might think. So today I'm going to be exploring both Loretta and Phoebe's design styles and then showing you with design sketches and product links in the description how you can create a similar effect in your own space. Hi, my name is Anne, and I am an interior architect and designer. Here we're having fun sampling from the screen to style our spaces like our favorite characters would. So I wanted to look into Only Murders in the Building because the new season's out now, but I found that a lot of people have already done a really great job in restyling Charles and Oliver's apartments, so I decided to look at Loretta's. And pretty quickly into looking at Loretta's New York City apartment, I started to think of another New York City apartment, and that's of Phoebe from Friends. I think even though their characters are portrayed a bit more quirky and spontaneous, Loretta and Phoebe have actually both done a lot of conscious curating in their spaces. Phoebe, mainly because she doesn't want to buy mass produced furniture or any animal products, and Loretta because she really wants to display those items that she loves and has accumulated over the years, like her artwork and books and other memorabilia. Neither shy away from more romantic pieces, including curved furniture, fringe, scalloped edges, and tufting. And both care a lot about their own tastes and comfort more than any trends that are going on. What I love that they both have done is included a lot of ambient lighting. Loretta even has 15 different sconces and table lamps and floor lamps throughout her space. Phoebe sometimes has two table lamps on one piece of furniture. But then I think the main difference that I see is that Loretta's apartment is really more New York City focused. She even has a New York City twill fabric on her bed upholstery, whereas Phoebe's is a bit more globally inspired as she's collected items that she's found from different places. So I am calling Loretta's space maximalist charm, whereas I'm calling Phoebe's romantic traveler. So let's talk about Loretta.
Enchanté, ma chérie.
Oh, welcome to my slice of New York. It's city bitty, but it's no
Art. It's art.
So Oliver calls Loretta's apartment art, and I think it's an accurate description. She's really considerate of each surface between the different patterns and the different colors that come into play. She has wallpaper on every wall, including 7 total for the studio apartment. And then I really like how she plays with brown and white as a contrast instead of a starker black and white. And she has more matte, kind of dull finishes to the metal, like a black and a bronze, which I think sets a nice backdrop for the softer, more romantic palette that has some mustard, some red colors, and some greens. So here you can see how I restyled a space with the sketch of an apartment the way Loretta would, with this sort of maximalist charm. There's pattern on pattern with 3 different wallpapers in this one view. There's color in the curtains and furniture. And there's also some smart storage solutions like Loretta had. So let's look into the details. So I'm showing I chose 3 different wallpapers inspired by Loretta. I really love this brown and cream colored paper that's called like a flora and fauna pattern. So I'm showing that going over that main entry. And then there is actually a New York City wallpaper from this company, Katie Kime. So I found that it's in a black and white. And then I also copied from Loretta to do the wallpaper that's not only on the walls, but also on the back of that front door. She has a ton of smart storage solutions for a small space, like these pull-out bookcases. These are from Wayfair. I think they're great because you can also use the top as a table because they're a shorter height. And then she had a pendant over that corner desk, which I love because it frees up table space, but also just has a more cozy vibe to it than just a task lamp alone. She has these ochre colored curtains. Hers had a floral pattern to them, but I found these that are a little more simple, just with a texture to it. She has these really smart shelf lights that actually just tuck into the bookcase. I found some that I think are actually exactly the same as what they used on site, maybe just with a different shade to them. And then she has this smart storage solution for scarves where she just used 2 towel bars and just puts it over the top and tucks it behind the lower one, which I think is really smart. I do have a collection of scarves from my grandmother that would be nice to display this way because I just don't wear them. She has the bronze hardware I was talking about, which I think gives a nice quiet kind of matte feel to that painted millwork. She has a storage chest, which of course is supposed to be something that's found or antique. This one's from Wayfair. I think it's kind of fun. It still has the storage element to it, which is great. And then I pulled a knit throw. And then for the striped sofa, hers is a little more traditional. It has kind of a smaller stripe and some floral patterning. I really like this brown and white bigger stripe on a more traditional sofa. I think the contrast of a more modern pattern and the traditional shape to the sofa is really fun. Okay, so let's talk about some of those individual pieces from this Loretta-Inspired Studio sketch. First, that sofa that I mentioned that I love with the wider brown and cream stripes. And then we have this tall sort of dresser cabinet, which Loretta does have one near the entry in her space. And this one is great because when you open it up, there's both shelves and cubbies. So you can get a lot of storage in there. And also it has that open space in the bottom, which I think then you could put baskets, just extra storage. And then after that, we have some of the wallpapers that I pulled. I did actually extend that entry wallpaper up on the ceiling as well. We kind of call it making an envelope of a space, and I think in an entry it makes a lot of sense to make it its own distinct space. After that, we have this desk. It is a traditional style desk, kind of similar to what Loretta had. With this second level, I think it's just smart for today too, because you could put your computer monitor up there and have the keyboard below, or just give some different levels for doing decor and storage and that kind of thing. After that, we have those pull-out bookshelves that I spoke about. And then this rug, like Loretta, had kind of a floral, soft colors rug and more traditional pattern. And then pulling in some more seating, she had what I think is smart. She had a sort of orangey armchair at the desk that could work as a guest chair if you have more people over. This one, ironically, is called the Phoebe from West Elm. And then I pulled a chair from Interior Define that has some of those more traditional kind of like rolled arm shapes. It has wheels, so it could be easy to move, which again is really smart for a studio apartment. And then we have some of the lighting selections. I kind of did a more contemporary take on a traditional light for that pendant over the desk. This floor lamp, again, is a little bit more contemporary than what she had, but still with that same scalloped edging detail. And then those shelf lights, which I think the green shade is really fun. In terms of some more decor, just an interesting frame. These ones are from Oliver Bonus, I think is the name of it. And then again, this brown, which I love to have a brown glass vase for an accent piece, and this blue knitted throw. And then in terms of hardware, like I mentioned, she has bronze hardware on her millwork and in the kitchen. There's this towel bar. I did a bit more fun mix of materials in that towel bar. That's from Anthropologie. A picture light, which is really smart and nice, which she has some of in her apartment. And then also, so she had like a regular hook behind the front door, which is totally good and makes sense. But a lot of times in hotel design, we do something called a swivel hook. So it can lay completely flat and then it has multiple components to it. So you can fit a few items in the same size space than you could with just one regular hook. And here's a side-by-side showing Loretta's apartment and then the sketch that I did inspired by Loretta's style. Now let's talk about Phoebe.
Phoebe hates Pottery Barn? Yeah, she hates all mass-produced stuff. She thinks her furniture should have a history, a story behind it.
So like Monica mentioned, Phoebe wants all of her pieces to have a story. She collected these items over time and you can tell that she cares about their history. What I like that she does is she really effectively creates different vignettes in the space by combining a piece of furniture with some objects on top and the wall art behind and the lighting all around. So she kind of creates zones in what is actually a pretty big apartment for New York City. She has a lot of curved shapes, which is why I'm calling her style a bit romantic. But then interestingly, her walls are kind of treated pretty traditionally. They have the chair rail, the picture rail, and she paints out the lower section almost like it's a wainscoting in this pretty green color. And then I borrowed, not sure which iteration it is because it's gone through a lot of iterations. She had this kind of buttery cream color on the wall. So I'm doing that above the green on the wainscoting below. Instead of the way that Loretta uses wallpaper to make each vertical plane interesting, she has this division created by the trim and the paint colors, and then she puts on top of it a lot of sculptural objects, sconces, artwork, bugs and frames. It's a lot of interesting things layered on top of each other, but still feels intentionally created in different zones. She actually has 2 different rugs, which I think is really smart, not only to create different areas, but also then you could bring wires through to have table lamps and floor lamps without seeing all the cords and everything. I think overall it just feels authentic and really homey. So as I mentioned, I'm calling Phoebe's style a romantic traveler because you can really see that global and eclectic influence with her curation of decor for her space. So here you can see her apartment in its original form. I think this is the earliest image, so I'm working from this one as the most authentic to Phoebe. And then you can see the sketch that I did using the same footprint as the one I did for Loretta's, but of course the space is quite different. And since Phoebe has a lot going on, this has a lot going on. So let's break it all down. Phoebe truly considers every surface in her apartment in terms of decorating. So even this beaded curtain was an opportunity other people might not see to do something between the living room and the kitchen. I found this modern one from Urban Outfitters. I like that it still has an image to it, and the colors really tie into the palette from the apartment itself. And then what she does, which is really smart and also pretty, is she has a ton of wall shelves. So you can see that I pulled some in here from different sources, some wood, one is from Etsy, which is great, and then another is actually ceramic, which is really pretty. And then of course she has a ton of different light sources, a lot of times in a glass or kind of a paper lantern, so they cast a really soft glow. And I do love the green tint to this glass one from Soho Home that you see there. Her floral curtains are a little more traditional with an all-over pattern. I like these updated ones from Anthropologie that just have the pattern more intentionally on the border instead. And again, it's kind of a nice soft sheer finish to have that soft lighting in the space. She has a table by the entry that's kind of a woven look. This one is, I know it's funny, from Pottery Barn, which you would never buy, but I do like the look a lot, and having it in a black finish I think adds a bit more interest to the space. These rugs are actually vintage, one of a kind from Revival, which is a great place to find one of a kind vintage hand knotted rugs. These are from Turkey. This carved wood side table I think is really pretty and quite close to what she had actually. And then in terms of the coffee table, I didn't love the mermaid. I don't think it's for everybody, but I do think the sculptural quality is interesting. So this one has a bronze sculptural base to it, and glass coffee tables are great for making a space seem larger. Of course, the details are really important in terms of layering. She has these throws and pillows on the sofa. She definitely understands color theory, that red and green are complementary and play really nicely together. And then she had kind of a larger, more eggplant colored armchair to the side. I found this purple one where I thought the kind of clamshell backing was kind of a fun nod to the mermaid that she had. Okay, let's look at those individual components that tell the story of this space. So starting with the green sofa, Phoebe had a curved sofa with some channel tufting and some fringe. I found this one from Wayfair that has the same vertical interest with that kind of ripple pleating in the bottom and the same curve. I think the curves are really important to get Phoebe's kind of like soft, romantic, a bit organic feel. And then of course, layering with some pillows and throws in some, textural, interesting fabrics. Then we have the tables, the glass coffee table I spoke about, and that woodcut black wood table next to it. And then with the desk, she at one point had a desk similar to this, which is actually the same desk I'm showing in Loretta's space. And she had just a kind of simple armchair. I found this one that I thought was fun. It's more to make the point that you could get a vintage one-off piece for a function like this, where it really is just one piece of furniture. It's a desk chair, but you could use it for guests sometimes. But don't be afraid to buy just one piece of furniture like this as a vintage piece to really have fun accent. Then that purple curved armchair, a painted cabinet, like she had that very large green painted cabinet. I didn't mention I love how she has all these different greens in this space. They all seem to work together and kind of just say, I like green, and that's okay to have it in different values throughout the space between the sofa, this painted cabinet, the wainscoting, and then here I have that butter color from Claire Paint and a Sherwin-Williams green on the bottom. Those rugs are those Turkish hand knotted rugs, and that rattan console at the front. And then, of course, layering with the table lamps, like I mentioned, this glass one from Soho Home. And that same way that she had that desk, she had a pretty similar brass task lamp. I liked the curve to this a little bit more than the one that she had. And then into more of the decor of the space, I think you could, like I have here, like have a coffee table next to an ottoman. Provides extra seating, kind of accounts for maybe the coffee table not being big enough to help fill the space. And those floral curtains we spoke about, and then all these different like dimensions and textures to the wall decor with ledges in wood and clay, and then different curves going on. Really just makes it feel more alive. And that beaded curtain, and then the different lighting. We have the glass of the sconces, the paper of that table lamp, showing the wall paint again. I liked this. It's not similar to something she had, but I think it works for the space and contemporizes it a bit to have this curved acacia wood floor lamp. Kind of has a nice solid form to it. And then she had some armchairs in her entry. She actually had like a dining table, so you could have that in a space like this. And I liked how it was the same color that Loretta had at her desk chair. And then we just have some art. These are all original pieces of art. The one is Reina Noriega. I have a piece of her art in my home. The long linear one is from artsy.net, which is great to get one-of-a-kind original pieces of art from anywhere in the world, actually. And I do think something long like this is nice if you're really trying to do like floor to ceiling, filling the space. And then she did have a picture light in her space just like Loretta, so I'm showing one here that you could use. And here, just like I did for Loretta, I'm showing a side-by-side of Phoebe's original apartment and then how I styled a space in a Phoebe-esque style. And then again, I'm just showing the two spaces so you can see how you can take the same footprint of an apartment and style it really differently to create a different effect. Loretta's feels really maximalistic with the wallpaper everywhere and the different patterns and the colors coming together and the built-in millwork with the hardware. It's a lot of layers. And then Phoebe's layered in a different way where it's just paint on the walls, but in terms of the decor, it's so eclectic and global and collected over time with a mix of vintage and new. So I think both spaces tell the story of the characters, and I really do think there was a lot of love from the set designers for these characters that you can feel in the spaces with their sort of romantic, charming, endearing vibe to them. So I hope that you appreciated this video and can borrow some of the style recommendations I have for your space. Like I said, there's real product links in the description. This is just my second video doing this, so let me know what you think and what space you'd like to see next. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.